Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. The first piece that I have was an assignment that was given to us in the writing group in Sedalia at the Senior Citizens Club. Fayreen Mays is the person who is in charge there, and she loves to give us some interesting, I guess you might say, prompts for us to take off and try to write something about. And she gave us 5 words, and we were to write an essay. And the words were poodle, flaky, monopoly, taxi cabs, and honeysuckle. So that's always a challenge because you kind of have to go, okay, how can I put this together? So I wrote one that is kind of based on a true story. There's, with other than the words themselves, some of those are a little quirky, but it's called The Honeysuckle Playhouse. Seeing the small building for the first time, I immediately told my husband Jim that I knew what we could use it for, a playhouse for the twins. We had just moved to the Ozarks and bought 120 acres of beautifully wooded and rock-strewn hills. This had been our dream for many years, and as we both approached retirement age, it became a reality. We were not farmers, but had lived the majority of our married life in a suburb of Kansas City and longed to leave the city life behind. We had gotten tired of the bumper-to-bumper traffic, whizzing taxi cabs, and the monopoly on our time that a big city demanded. We wanted peace and quiet. Along with an all-weather creek named Durant Creek that ran most of the year, the property contained an older home, barn, garage, and a small building that may have been used as a storage shed as it was piled halfway to the roof with all kinds of just plain junk. We discovered it had a nice wooden floor after digging and dragging out the accumulated treasures one fall day. There was also a small loft, and the roof was covered with vines. They were a long-established honeysuckle. When the girls came for their first visit, they were wide-eyed, but skeptical that it would someday become a playhouse. But anyway, we decided to name it Honeysuckle Playhouse. We couldn't wait for the spring to start this project. When word got out that we were going to convert it into a playhouse, both sides of the family pitched in to make it happen. Uncle Dave was renovating a house, and when I dropped by, discovered that he was getting ready to start a bonfire with some outdated paneling. What a find! Then the other grandparents contributed some blue carpet when they replaced their own carpeting. Great Aunt Phyllis saw a large box of Melmac dishes at a garage sale, and guess what? Now we had dinnerware. One of our friends sold us 2 perfect-sized windows, and we painted the door after they were installed. Their Aunt Julie made a beautiful oval braided rag rug. Hanging the homemade blue check curtains had us visualizing them blowing in the breeze. That spring, the honeysuckle vines bloomed and bloomed. One of the wonderful assets on the farm was our creek. On one of our rock hunts, we found cookies and collected a bunch. This was perfect food for the tea parties that became famous at the Honeysuckle restaurant. A blackboard advertised the prices for guests, and we had unusual people stop by. Most of them seemed to have long, scrunched-up knees when they crowded around the plastic table and chairs. They seemed to enjoy the funny, flaky cookies as they had a good gossip with all the dolls, along with the raggedy pink poodle that sits in the rocking chair in the corner. The Honeysuckle post office seemed to have a lot of junk mail and envelopes to be passed through the window to the postman, who looked a lot like Papa Jim. Somehow, the recycled mail kept being delivered over and over again from the mailbox lettered V&V, P.O. Box 29, Lincoln, Missouri, that stood by the front door. Each season brought changes to the outside of the building. After the sleepy, snow-covered days of winter, when flowers were planted, a small white fence sprang up, and then flower boxes were attached to the white painted windows. Eventually, a round, blue-checked tablecloth with matching napkins appeared. The loft was made ready for a sleepover. A mouse visited, and several bumblebees. they were not welcomed by the twins. With much screaming and running outside, they were banished with the help of Papa Jim. Stirring pots simmered and experimental mud pies found their way into the tiny kitchen. On a vacation to Disney World, the twins had their pictures taken inside Mickey and Minnie's playhouse, pouring tea. Soon, magically, an enlargement appeared on the wall above their own round table. Life kept evolving over the years at the Honeysuckle Playhouse. The twins will turn 18 this August and now live in Los Angeles, but when they come, we always have a good visit. Sometimes we even have a cup of tea from the old flowered pot and talk about the playhouse. Along with the aroma of ginseng and lemon, I sometimes get just a whiff of honeysuckle. Don't you? My next piece, again, True Love was one of the prompts that Faye gave us, and I wrote this piece, and some of it is true, some of it isn't, but it's called True Love Has Navy Blue Eyes. She was petite, barely 5 foot, but was a ball of energy and enthusiasm, a natural blonde. My girlfriend Mary Lou was outgoing, lots of fun, and cute as could be, but unfortunately, always in love. I did not go to high school with her, but met her through a mutual friend, Frankie, from her hometown. She zipped around in a little blue Volkswagen, which everyone recognized immediately, and her love of dancing was well known. We spent a lot of time discussing boys and all the problems they presented. Mary Lou always talking longingly about someone named Bob, who broke her heart, but she was still in love with him. She talked so much about him that I would sometimes just tune her out. She raved about his navy blue eyes. Come on, navy blue. One night, several years later, she called me and could barely talk. You've got to go with me. You've got to go with me, she babbled. To meet him. They're having a dance in Lexington, and I heard that he was going to be there. Remember that I told you I used to date Bob? He played football, drove a fast car, and is the true love of my life. And he has those dreamy navy blue eyes. Then I recalled how I always teased her just to get her going, but that Bob was a figment of her imagination, and excuse me, and could not possibly be that good looking. Every once in a while, we would cruise up to Lexington and look for him. She was always hoping to run into him. We never did. I was used to the hype that punctuated the stories of her many boyfriends. Laughingly, I said, "And you need me to go along to do what?" "Oh, you are so good with people and know how to talk to boys, and I don't think he would suspect how interested I am in him if you talk to him first and sort of let him know how I feel," she ran on almost incoherently. I sighed. Another harebrained scheme to get me involved, probably with a real loser. Mary Lou had a tendency to overlook outstanding flaws, such as guys stuck on themselves, too good looking, leading her on, and being a jerk. I was more inclined to be outright skeptical of their schemes. Please go with me. I'll introduce you to him, and then you can dance with him, and you can talk about me, sort of hint how much I like him. Oh, great, that should work. As I had no plans for Saturday night, and I loved to dance, I told her with reservations that I'd go. Immediately, she started planning what she would wear, which perfume, and what high heels. I jokingly said, "You mean Bob is a real person? I can't wait to meet him." Mary Lou just sighed into the phone. Saturday night, summer dance at the VFW Hall, and it was in full swing when we arrived. Mary Lou was all excited because she had seen Bob's car parked right in front. You couldn't miss it. A low-slung GTO that looked like it could do 100 in a minute. Ever popular, Mary Lou waltzed in the front door and immediately was surrounded by friends. I quietly went to get a Coke. Okay, where was the dreamboat? Cuter than a movie star with navy blue eyes. Someone asked me to dance, and right in the middle of the number, here comes Mary Lou, dragging a drop-dead gorgeous guy with her. With a grand gesture, she introduced me. Sometimes love makes people exaggerate. Not in this case. My God, he was something. He took my hand and without a glance at Mary Lou, asked me to dance. Oh, brother. Mary Lou was signaling behind his back. Dance, dance. He put his arms around me, and as the slow dance number started, he softly whispered near my ear, I don't dance to fast songs. Then he started a slow step, hesitating after the first beat. It caught me off guard for just a second, but I didn't misstep. You're a good dancer, he crooned. Boy, what an egotistical jerk. Also, I had forgotten to tell Mary Lou that blondes did not exactly turn me on. I managed to ask him how he knew Mary Lou. Oh, I used to date her. How come I've never met you before? It was going to be a long night, as I explained that I rarely came to Lexington. Figuring that this one was too fast and footloose for me or any girl, I decided to be very direct with him. You know, Mary Lou really likes you, and you seem to be pretty uncaring about her feelings. We stopped dancing in mid-step. Do you always say what you mean? What's on your mind? Do you always treat girls that way? The navy blue eyes bored into mine as a curl from his blonde hair seductively dropped forward as he scrutinized me. Come on. He grabbed my hand and headed for the open front door. When we got outside, I said, whoa, 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 wait a minute. What do you think you're doing? I came with Mary Lou. He gave me that sexy grin and said, don't worry, I'll take you home. I stopped, withdrew my hand, and said over my shoulder, I'm not interested. His jaw dropped. Turning back to the dance, I stopped, turned, and said, there's an old Turkish proverb that says, before you love, learn to run through snow, leaving no footprints. You might keep that in mind, Bob. So much for navy blue eyes. And my very last selection is a poem that I wrote, and it's based on a true actual place and an actual family. And the name of it is, excuse me, Benton County Ruts. Old man Skurlock from Benton County was hated by his sons. They were beaten and kicked and berated from born. Over Benton County ruts he drove his old mules. To his neighbors he was Christian, but the boys knew his rules. The revenge was sweet when they laid him in the ground. Instead of a headstone showing date when born, a bronze slab-covered piece of concrete they found, showing an epitaph of scorn. The poem mentioned the roads full of ruts, how hateful and deceitful he was, and how his offspring hated his guts. Scores of years have gone by. The sons have all vanished, but their hate is still very strong, shown by the marker tarnished, but not worn. Countless folks have stopped by the overgrown place of rest to read the words carved in bronze, but not written in jest. So fathers, remember that sons grow into men. If given hearts of stone, words of hate are undoubtedly sown.